it also connects us to that though, like that, like that eternity, that moment, like that like. No, seriously though, like that's when I play music. One of the things that satisfies me the most is the fact that like I'm in it, like I'm not in time. I'm spatially there, like I'm figuring things out, but I'm in the moment. Much like sex or other things that bring you to that space.
Or chain smoking.
Chain smoking. Right, or like sitting under a tree or doing anything. Like you can enter that space, HBO. Which is outside of time. And it's very comforting. And it's essentially what like entire cult, like religious systems are based in. Is like essentially to reach that moment. Like I think it's very animal. I think a human is like it's like a distraction.
It's very animal, like but the desire to want to be in that space is very human. I mean, I think one of the things that's been important for me to keep in mind is that I think any musician has to be, or any artist has to be capable of adapting to unexpected circumstances and continuing to hold hope in the fact that they, come what may, they'll have the ability to work and to develop and advance. For me, right now, I think that's sort of a matter of songwriting. I mean, I can't take all this stuff with me wherever I go because it's a lot of stuff. And sometimes, even while I'm still here, it's frustrating that what I'm doing is so contingent on a lot of gear. And so I don't know. One of the things I look forward to is at least for a brief time while I'm there in Massachusetts, being forced to focus on the craft of like songwriting in a very stripped down, minimal way, where the only resources you have are like melody and words. So I think a lot of people hide from that. There's a lot of music that is never really forced to confront the foundations. So I mean, I'm looking forward to like being forced to adapt, and then hopefully coming back with new songs that were written.
I wouldn't put it as breaking up.
Okay.
Because I think everybody is still going to be working together as far as I'm concerned with you guys. I know Wizards are going to work with each other in the future. It's just a matter of living conditions and creating, and that if you're in another state, you can still do things via internet, and having people fly out or do whatever. So it's not really breaking up at all. It's actually just continuing in a different way, at a different pace. That's the way I look at it, and yeah.
Say something similar for us. I mean, we're putting our record out.
I've always said something similar.
Ditto.
I said ditto. We're putting a record out, and I think I've been talking to Mitch. He's one of the first people I told I was moving, and he said, "Well, we have an entire second record just sort of waiting to be recorded. It might be a blessing in disguise to just get this record out and give it to the people that might pick it up that we are interested in sharing it with, and see what happens. And if we can get some sort of a support to continue and continue making things together, we'll find out in the next few months. And it's sort of, for us, it's sort of something that was always inclement, because we have a father in the band, we have Mitch in the band who's, beholden to what Laura says. I mean, if his first commitment is to that band, as it should be, and so if something were to arise with them, there was going to be a moment in time at some point when we were going to have to kind of be at the mercy of fortune. So we're kind of letting that happen, I think. And, But I guess in the sense of not, you know, playing shows or being located in the same place, that is sort of like a breakup in a way. So
I guess one of the main things is, in that respect, is that neither bands will be performing live in Phoenix anymore. So it does feel, I mean, after we do the CD release or whatever, there is that. Like, so I guess like for those here, it does seem kind of like a breakup. And it's not to say that, well, it won't come back, it won't continue to operate. This space will continue as a music space. So
I think there's going to be a lot of like inbreeding with bands and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what Laura says is rehearsing here.
yeah, they might
Right.
start rehearsing here.
Pat will be living here, Ross still has a key here, so I mean, they'll be rubbing shoulders all the time. Who knows what.
Ross has some really good music too that we're gonna start working on.
Yeah, Ross is a
So
songwriter
yeah,
who's lent himself to the Nevertheless generously.
He's a beautiful voice.
He's cool.
Yeah, he's an exceptional. Technically, I mean, he could be a studio musician, but he also can write songs.
Yeah.
And he's sort of put that on the back burner difference to what he needed for a long time. So, I mean, that's another consolation. Maybe that's all it is, but I like to think that Ross will have some time.
The album's been done for about a year and a half now. But you have to consider the finding interest, which I personally wanted to find somebody that was enthusiastic about the album. You can do self-releases, and I think that's great. I think it's wonderful that bands do self-releases, but at the same time, I wanted to do something with other people. But having other people talk about your work, even outside of what you know, is nice. Like what you guys are doing. I think this is wonderful.
I think Phoenix is a really astonishingly well-suited place for generating ideas. Just even for material reasons, like renting this place was affordable, even while we were renting a house on the side. And there's a lot of places like Brooklyn or wherever else has a more market music scene, where that kind of, the freedom to work part-time for the things you need to be creative is basically impossible. You can do that here in Phoenix, so you generate things and you have a lot of freedom. There's no aesthetic, prevalent aesthetic that requires you to make a certain kind of music. There's all kinds of music going on. There's no like scene that you adhere to or the sound from the sleep. It's just very free and sort of adolescent. But that's sort of, in the end, that's sort of one of the things that comes to be an issue is once you've got that thing that you made here and could only have made here, sometimes it seems difficult to find a place to take it or walk on.
I'm moving up there. The friend, he's become a friend over the past 3.5 years. The guy that recorded our album, him and I are going to tear down his studio in Charlotte and rebuild it in Chapel Hill and open up a studio there, and I'm going to be his assistant and working on albums with him, producing, and also hiring myself out to play on other people's albums and work on my own stuff, as well as collaborations with him and his wife and other people in that area. So it's a continuum for creative process, and also growing outside of what you normally do, which is really nice.
It was like 3 years, rubbing shoulders with each other,
Coming in and playing music with each other,
just-
later.
yeah, I mean, and then inevitably things about the Wizards of Time come to manifest themselves on what you're doing, and vice versa. that's happened, and then the link has been established, and I think it's strong enough to withstand distance.
Yeah. Here again, like it's just people working together through different means and friendship. Because honestly, that's what it really comes down to. Is it is a working relationship, but it's also a friendship, and it's also an effort that, you know, there's sometimes no money in it, and then sometimes there is, and with or without it, there's still friendship and camaraderie that has been established through everybody and through different relationships, which is really rad. And I think working on future endeavors together, to get back to what we were talking about, is something that's really important, and to better each other through that. So, yeah. I think that's something that I want to do if they come out and record. And I don't know, it'll be fun to be able to do that. But also come back to a city that I know I love, and just have more of an established being in what you do, I guess, because there's only so much you can do in a certain area. What you're given to grow with is sometimes not what you expect. So I also think it's really good because what I'm going to be doing is helping in production of music for groups, which I've always wanted to do. And it would be nice to be able to work with them in the future.
Because in a perfect world, obviously, I'd like to be in one place with other people that I love, making things that I love. No jobs. No chords that create buzzers in the amplifiers. Yes. I've often thought it would be cool to be a band and never release anything. Like that Wilco song about the greatest band of all time. You never hear it on the radio. I mean, that's just the way things are. You can't garner attention and sustain what you do purely through live performance. It's the way the industry works since the dawn of recorded music. Because I don't know, one of the things people say about when we play live is that we never play the same song the same way twice. Which could be because we don't rehearse enough, but also be just as easily be because we're trying to entertain ourselves.
It's kind of nice to put your trust in something. You know, and I personally do have trust that it will bring us all back together in one way or another. There'll be future collaboration, for sure.
You have to be optimistic because you're given opportunities to follow up with, and whether they be inside of or outside of where you live, you've got to consider how much, not just experience, but how much you're stretching yourself. It's like kind of just going on a small tour or something and really trying to get through and not have a lot of money saved beforehand, because that in a perfect world that would really work out, but when you kind of just stick your hands on a windowsill and hope it doesn't close, you know, it's just like that's kind of what it's like. But at the same time, it's also, there's a lot of hope that goes along with it. So being optimistic about moving, yeah, I'm very optimistic. I'm very happy with moving. It's going to be great. It has to be, because that's what's going on. I think it's fun when people move away and then they come back and have a different perspective. So who knows?